like you were saying earlier, the whole dating culture of today's society is all about sex. So why why would I be thinking about 2 to 3 years? If I was to just hook up with someone, why would I be thinking 2 to 3 years ahead in the future? Or why would I even check whether or not they're financially dependent? Sex isn't something that, it's not always something that you plan. It's a feeling that it's lust. People like lust. So it's not always going to be something that can be planned out, that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be safe and have it just seems like you're blaming women. Really, you're putting all this responsibility on the women, but you're not putting that same responsibility on man. Why shouldn't a man, like, why? It's just, it doesn't make sense to me. You're making it seem like women need to be chaste and that they need to be virgins, but it's okay for a man to just go out and do whatever because he doesn't run the risk of getting pregnant. And then you brought up abortion rights, and in the podcast where you were addressing the responsibility of being a single mom, in that podcast you said, and I quote, at the end of the day, it's your body. Stop right there. That's what abortion is about. It's my body, my choice. So why does my body apply to having sex but not apply to abortion rights, when that's literally what it's all about? And and even in that same podcast you said that your opinions were strong because, or whatever, because you're providing the male perspective, when in reality there is no male perspective on this issue. There's no male perspective on a women's issues. You don't know what it's like to be a single mom. You don't even know what motherhood is. So I don't know why you thought you're valid to even speak on this. And then you also brought up that you had other single moms like backing up your claims, not facts, your claims. But that doesn't even matter. If a few single moms does not mean it's the opinion of all single moms. Everyone has a different story. And then you say all this and that about, don't get into your feelings. We're going to have a logic based conversation. But all of this, your entire case, it all sounds like feelings. Like you just hate women. I hate to say it, but you are misogynistic just with all of this. And don't even try to say that you're not, because you are. Even the topics you talk about on this podcast is always about women. It's always, do women want this? Do women want that? Why do you feel the need to put your male perspective into a women's issues? It's none of your business.
Okay. All right. Anything you want to add to that?
And more about the abortion. So you bring up abortion.
Okay.
And yes, that's always a choice for a woman. But at the same time, it's not always a choice because abortion, it's always there and people know it's always there. But at the same time, it's legality in it's not legal in some states. In most states, it's actually not even legal. Not only that, but there are girls who, for example, the Church of Latter-day Saints, abortion is seen as something so bad, like that we shouldn't do it. And even with our cultural values, as another poly, you do know how it looks to even get pregnant. So having an abortion would be even worse. So it's not always a choice for women.
Okay. All right. So I listened. I know you said a lot there. So I try to write all the things down. So I'm gonna try to address everything you said. Number one, you said that why should a woman look for the future and plan out for the future? And sex is just sex. It's just emotional thing we do. And why should a woman plan? I mean, for me, what you just said, that's something that's not very, that's not very a practical thing to say, because when you have sex, you should plan. You should plan to make sure that you're having sex with the person. That's why we have something called, just the main topic, single moms. These men are not true. You're having sex with guys that are not staying with the child. And like I told you guys before, having a kid is a big deal. Why are you saying, for me, why are you saying that, oh, let's just have sex, don't worry for the future? I mean, that means you're planning for failure. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Because once you have sex, you get pregnant, then that baby is forever. So that's a long-term, that's a life-term investment, that's a life-changing decision. So for me, that's very baffling from you to say that why should somebody think about the future, think about the plan? When you have kids, it is a high burden and big responsibility, because once you have a child, then you're gonna have that child forever. And because women, you bear the the burden of getting pregnant and there's a risk of becoming a single mom, then be very super selective. That's the reason why a lot of women are single moms, because they are, like I said, they're just giving it up without any practical preparation to think of the future, to make sure that their mate that they're having sex with is a suitable mate, and that's somebody that they're going to have a future together. So that's something that's one. Number two, body choice, my body, your choice, right? You address that part. Yes, of course, it's your body, it's your choice. So like I told you before, that's why I believe you guys carry 100% responsibility, because you guys carry all the rights. If you have all the rights to the child, then how, even if a guy meets you and say you have sex with a guy on a one night stand, the guy's like, look, I don't want the child. I don't want the child. He doesn't have the right to it. Even if it tells you up to your face, it tells you up front, I don't want the child, and you still continue to have the child, even if he made it clear in the beginning it was a one night stand, he has no intentions for you. He doesn't want to marry. He doesn't even like you. You just have one night stand. He doesn't even give a shit about you. He made that clear. But you still proceed to become a single mom, then that is your choice, because you have that right. The man doesn't have that right. So it's just like for me, if you have a business, if you invest into a business and I have no right to that business, and that business falls apart and becomes bankrupt, I'm expected to be liable for that business, even though I had no right, I had no ownership. But if that business ends up being bankrupt, I'm going to pay for it, even though I have no right or ownership towards it. The same thing I see with the child. The guy has no right. So if he's made it clear he doesn't want to be a father, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't even want to marry you. Like I mentioned before, 50% of single moms today have never been married their whole life. So that means they're having sex with men that had no plan for a future for them. But they choose, because they have that right, they choose to proceed. Then that's the choice they make. Then you became a single mom. It is what it is. Also, you said, why do you expect? How come you don't expect the men to take care of the children, to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do? Of course. Do I expect men out there to make sure that to take care of the children? Should men step up and be better? Of course, but that's not the world that we live in. The men are not staying with the children for whatever reason for the women. I mean, the women are being the ones left with the child, and because you're the one being left with the child, 90% of women get custody of the child. Because you have the high probability of raising the child and also having the rights of the child, then that's why, because you bear the most amount of the risk, don't rely on the other man. Take that responsibility and be super selective. Don't expect anybody to do anything for you. That's why I come from a very practical mind. When I live in this world, I don't expect anybody to do anything for me. If you live in that kind of mindset, you're gonna fail and you're gonna meet a lot of bad people. In real life, you have to be super selective and take accountability at everything, to make sure you choose the right people in your inner circle, to make sure you choose the right type of things you allow into your life, to make sure it's all healthy, to make sure it's all positive, it's all benefit. But if you just expect the world to be sunshine and rainbows and just go out there and just make choices without planning, like you said, without planning about for the future, then you're going to have a high probability of failure, and you're going to have a high probability of meeting the wrong people and toxic people. Also, with the abortion thing, like I told you guys before, like, even if worst case scenario, if you meet the wrong guy and things don't work out, as a woman, if you absolutely don't want to be a single mom, if in your heart you're like, I don't want to bear that responsibility, I'm not ready to be a mom, you still have the option. And like I said, I'm Mormon, so I'm pro-life. But when I'm speaking on this platform, I'm not bringing my religious beliefs in. It's just pure practical. So even if you, worst case scenario as a woman, you made a wrong choice. You slept with a guy that had no intentions to love you, to take care of you, to be with you. You made a wrong choice. You still have not only have the rights, but you still have an option to abortion. So if you absolutely don't want to do it, life is not fair. Life is always unfair. That's life. You're gonna have to make some hard choices in life. And if you absolutely don't want that child, you have the choice to also adopt, right? You have the choice to give the baby away, adopt it, so you don't end up being a single mom, or you have the choice to abort if you absolutely don't want that lifestyle. But if you choose not to give up a baby for adoption, if you choose to not abortion, and you choose to keep the baby, even knowing full well you made a mistake, knowing full well you made a poor choice, and the guy left you, then you end up with, and you have to take accountability everything that comes along with it. That means you chose to be a single mom. So that's my thoughts on it. And also, when they're talking about the misogynistic thing, No, like I said, I'm speaking on topics that's very sensitive, especially when it comes to men and women. So I'm not misogynistic. I'm talking from the male perspective, and I'm talking about things of how the real life works and the way it happens in real life. So, um, and I try to stay as away from my emotions, away from my feelings. Everything is very practical. Um, but like I said, if you ever watch my podcast, you will never hear me say I hate women. You will never hear me say I think women are better or men are better. You will never see that. You never see these things. It's just when people listen to my podcast and I speak on a very sensitive topic because I do understand the topics I speak about. Everybody has an emotional attachment to it, or they have some experience. So there's some kind of emotional experience regarding this very sensitive. Because I'm not talking about normal subjects. I'm talking about very sensitive topics that's on my podcast. So I do understand people have emotional feelings behind it, but you will never hear me say that men are better than women. You will never hear me say I hate women. If you find out my podcast, go watch all my podcasts. You will never hear me say that. And you said it first, and you said it on your response. It sounds like when I hear you say, it sounds like you're misogynistic. What it sounds like and what I'm saying is two different things. Like people that DM send me negative comments and negative hate on my messages. They say, you said single moms, you don't know what single moms are going through. You don't want single moms. You're downgrading single moms. If you listen to my podcast on that clip, the reason why we're having this video today, I never said single moms were terrible moms. I never said single moms were less valuable, worthless. I never said single moms don't go through hardships because I was raised by a grandmother that was a single mom. All I said was the accountability of why single moms are single moms falls on them. I never said anything besides that. You never see that. I never said that in the pocket, those verbal words. So like I said, people just listen to a clip and they feel the kind of emotional what they thought about. But if you listen to the clip objectively, I never said the word hate. I never said the word better. And I never said the single moms, the terrible moms, they're worthless and they don't go through hardship because my family members are single moms. All I said, the accountability is on them because you bear the risk and all the reasons that I listed with you right now. So, but for the sake of time, Kaylin, thank you for jumping on. I know I have a lot of people to jump on, but I really really appreciate your feedback and hopefully yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck you.
All right, peace. All right, so you see that? Oh man, that is a perfect example. Oh, right there. That's why I always say, guys, like emotion. That's why I always say, I give her my response, I give her my data, and look how she handles it. She cusses at me and swears at me, and people, like I said, I'm willing to listen to her, and I give her my response, and she's not willing to listen to me. It's already in her mind. She's already said, F this guy. So that's why I always say, guys, I'm trying to give facts. I'm trying to stay practical. People feel some type of way. So people always say they want to have a conversation, but they already come here. They don't want to listen.